Howdy, guys. This is Attorney Walter, if not the third, and I am live with you now. Going to go ahead and do disability resolution PAs live, answering any and all disability questions you might have. In addition with that, we're going to be going through and running a mock hearing. If you hear somebody barking in the background, that's Sweetie. She is unhappy because she doesn't have enough treats, and we may have to go ahead and pause the show once we begin because she's standing over there bitching and whining. Great. So what we're going to be doing today is going through some of the basics. Oh, God. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab Sweetie real quick. We're going to put her in the other room. Oh, that's good. She is really raring to go today. So what we're going to do, guys, we're going to go ahead and put Sweetie in the other room. Give me about 2 seconds, and then we should be good to go. So 1 second. Here we go. All right. 1 second, guys. Okay, everybody, we are back and raring to go. Here we go. How's everybody doing tonight? So some of the things we're going to be going through today are the basic intro, which is, of course, we're going to be talking about some of our sponsors. Now, let's go through the basics. I work at Disability Resolution PA. It's a company that I've owned for 7 years. It's a law firm. It's really amazing. I love working there, I guess. And then the other one is spaceconstitution.com. What that is, it's the idea of creating a list, anything of rights, freedoms that you can think of that the human race would benefit from, and then taking those rights and putting them into futuristic constitutions so that people can use them and enjoy them, and then also use them as leverage for other already in existence sovereign nations. All right, now that we've gotten through those, I want to talk about a mask maker who does a really incredible job, and then we're going to get right into the disability stuff. The mask maker is Cheyenne. She does an amazing job. She works at and with and for and owns second wave masks. They're absolutely incredible. The one I was wearing today at the post office is this one. Very cool, very patriotic, very boaty, very yachty, which I like. Excellent. Now, let's go on to the next thing. We're going to call somebody who essentially had their hearing recently received a decision in the mail, and is now going through the process related to that. So we're going to speak with that person first, and then we're going to talk to a vet who basically has gone through this process and wants a chance to talk to you guys. So give me 1 second. We're going to call that first person and go from there. All right, here we go. Let's see what we got. Dialing the number. Okay, just give me 1 second, guys, and we're going to get this person right on the phone. Oh, hopefully we will. You never know, you know. Oh, let's see if we're dialing out. And speaker. Okay, and while that's going on, guys, I just wanted to give you a quick update. One of the big things I had an issue with was, for some reason, when I edited the videos and uploaded them, they had this huge long tail of what's called a slug in Final Cut Pro. So I'm going through and cropping out all that black space at the end of it. All right, how we do? Hold on 1 second, Roo. Okay. This is Attorney Walter Knott. How you doing? I guess, okay. I don't think they realized who was calling them. All right, let's see. Thursday, 512, 993, 14. Let's see what we got here. Okay. I can tell it's already going to be one of those shows. Let's see. Howdy, guys. How we doing? Linda, T. Ludo, SRT, Leanne. How we doing? Okay, let's see. Sorry, guys. I kind of had to run around right before this, but let's see if we can get this person on the line. Otherwise, we're going to skip to the next person. All right, we're going to skip that and go to the next one. Here we go. Okay, perfect. We're going to put this right on speaker. And here we go.
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic.
We are striking out tonight. Jeez Louise, these are all people who said they definitely wanted to be on the show. They definitely wanted an opportunity to tell people about what's going on. Let's see if we can get that person on again. Hold on 1 second, Rue. Okay.
Your call has been forwarded to an.
Okay, so I had 2 guests lined up. Unfortunately, neither of them are answering right now. Either way, we're going to go into the basics. I'm going to open the floor up to people who want to call in. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to tell you guys about some of the things that are coming up. Okay, so the first thing I covered was a lot of the videos when they exported, they had that large kind of black slug at the end of them. That's what we call in Final Cut Pro just a big open area of nothing. And what that equates to is I have to go through and basically edit all those out, but I am doing that over a period of time. The big thing that I'm focusing right now, a lot of my efforts on, are the top 200 hearing questions that you're likely to hear in the hearing. I've just recorded and finalized up to 40. They are set up to be released over the next 6 months in total. I may speed up some of that a little bit, so we may be going that route. Now, with that said, my big focus is to complete all those. It does take probably about 100 hours in total to, make all those videos and edit all those videos and post all those videos. So I would say probably by the end of 2021, we'll have the entire list of the top 200 Social Security disability hearing questions that you are likely to hear in there. Howdy, guys. Good to see you. Now, with that said, I wanted to talk about some of the changes that we're experiencing due to COVID-19 and what's basically going on with the Social Security Administration. Okay, so hearings, we kind of have a flow now of what's going on. The judges, I think when we first started to do the hearings, we were getting some odd decisions and things like that. Pretty much decisions are right on point now. They're not approving ones that are, this particular type or that particular type. We're getting pretty much consistency with the judges at this point. The other thing is that when it comes to these COVID hearings, they pretty much all have the same language now. And they also send out a template sheet that they just started utilizing. The template sheet basically is a whole explanation as to how they're doing telephonic hearings, what's the deal, and all that such. We're using that, and the first thing you get on the phone and they talk to you about as part of those administrative questions is, are you in a separate room? Are you recording because you're not allowed to, and only the judges? Do you accept these terms? Does the attorney accept these terms? Things like that. Okay, so, Grace Gonzalez. Well, Grace, you can always call in right now. I had 2 guests, one here and one here on my desktop ready to go, and the problem was, howdy. The problem was that I called them and they didn't go ahead and pick up. But either way, no worries. So, let's go through what are some of the changes that are happening with disability law. Okay, so with disability law, as it continues to push forward, we are looking at potentially a year to 2 years of not having hearings. And the reasoning for that is that basically these judges, the little diamonds that they are not, we're not capable of allowing a bunch of them to get sick because they have to do a high processing level, lots and lots of hearings in order to keep up. And so if they get sick and we lose them for a couple of weeks, that's a big thing. If one of the older ones gets sick, then basically it's a huge thing. We've lost them. And the reality is that there's not enough people in the disability field to take over a lot of the losses that we could potentially experience. Oh, okay, gotcha. I am where I can. Okay, so basically, that's one of the guys that just, that was the, this one. That's one of the people who was supposed to go ahead and catch up with me for the Thursday, but no worries. Okay, so if you guys have any questions, go ahead and put them into the side panel there, and I'm just going to keep going with what's new due to the COVID. So we're looking at a year to 2 years. Sensitive question. I was a compulsive gambler, clean 10 months. I always use my own money. Will the judge bring it up? Okay, so, well, first and foremost, as a compulsive gambler, what records of that are there? Is this something where it was attached to a mental impairment? Is this something where, there's financial records that are showing this? If you say, I always use my own money, Was this cash? Did you pull out the cash, or what's the deal? So, you got to kind of look at those details. The other thing you have to look at is, is this something where, this was a compulsive disorder, part of a 12.0 based disability listing? Is this something where, you got through it? It was just some sort of addiction that you had that you moved through? Those are kind of the things that we're looking at with that particular issue. And then the other thing too is that if this was like a digital gambling situation where, for example, you were gambling online, it shows your capabilities. I think Cheyenne is right now driving back from the beach. I think that's what's going on with that. So unfortunately, you guys are stuck with me a little bit for this thing. And then, of course, my two guests, they just bailed on me, but that's okay. So kind of the bottom line is with that one, if you were an online gambler, it shows your ability to go ahead and manage funds, deal with deal with online electronics, be able to follow instructions, being able to, you're able to do a lot of it. Was this something compulsive disorder will document, not digital poker player? Okay, so if this was just a poker player, when did you stop having the compulsive gambling issue? Or is this something where you still have it and it's just, something that you've kind of slowed down quite a bit? And let me ask you this as well. If this was something where, you were doing this for an extensive, it looks clean 10 months. Okay. So if this is something where you just stopped 10 months ago, then, you have to look at how are you going to prove that this is an actual impairment that's disabling to the degree in which it's severe. And does this cause you to, and I think you're not even really worried about proving the medical aspect. You're just worried about hurting your financial abilities. I'd have to look at, okay, so let's see, not digital poker player, mania, bipolar. Is that okay? Oh, good, glad she's okay. Yeah, she's fine. She's fine. She's at the beach. So basically, if you're using it for mania and bipolar, yes, you can show that. How you're going to prove, and then you quit. That's an interesting question. How would gambling affect a disability judge's interaction with your claim? Well, they'd want to know, probably, was this something where you were unable to control it? Was this something that you stopped 10 months ago, so it's something you could control? Did you use medication to deal with it? Did you have therapy for it? Those kind of details. I have a hearing in 3 months. I never was assigned a Social Security doctor. Might this mean that my case is or might be strong enough with the current medical evidence currently in my file? So, Michael, I would recommend calling in. I'll give you the phone number real quick because I can run questions with you. But the bottom line is that doesn't necessarily mean that you have a bad claim. That just means that they looked at the opportunity to give you a CE, consultative examination, and they probably had enough medical documentation on record to not actually need that CE doctor. However, I would say this, the other option is it could have been a technical denial situation, or you weren't available and you got a denial, or you never responded in time and got a denial, and they skipped those initial DDS steps. Because remember, at the initial filing, they'll send you to CEs. At reconsideration, they'll send you to CEs. But unless you request it at the ALJ hearing level, they usually won't send you to CEs. And what will happen is you'll go to the hearing, and the judge will then reserve the right to go ahead and then at the end of the hearing make a decision as to whether or not the judge wants to send you to a CE. So pretty much once you get to the ALJ level, you're not necessarily, you got to push to get that CE, but the initial filing, the recon levels, you can usually get one. Okay, let's see. Linda, I have a case with appeals counsel and it's being reviewed by analyst. I called Social Security to get update and was informed they were reviewing fee agreement with attorney. Guy felt that was good. Yeah, that is good. That's good because usually when they're reviewing the fee agreement, okay, there's two forms that your attorney has that are relevant to the Social Security Administration for a finding of favorable. Okay, in this case, it could have been a partially favorable or fully favorable. What that means is that they're going to look at the 1696, make sure everybody signed it. That's a simple appointment of rep form and the fee agreement. Now, every single attorney's fee agreement is different. Some attorneys, the older ones, have like the classic 3-paragraph fee agreement that everybody uses if they're over a certain age because they come from that era. My fee agreement isn't like that. It has a bunch of other little things that I've noticed people have done or people have lied about or people have tried to trick and abuse and yada yada. And I put those little things into it. So is that a good thing? Yes, because when they look at the fee agreement, they're trying to figure out fee apportion. Is it a classic 25% deal? Is it one of those situations where there's some bad terminology in there that they can't approve it? But usually when they're doing that, they're looking to do what's called a quality control decision, which means that they basically found that you are disabled, and they're looking over the fee agreement to make sure the attorney can be paid. There's another thing too, which is there might be multiple attorneys or multiple representatives on record. And if there's multiple representatives on record, they've got to figure out which attorneys are part of this, who's getting what percentage of that 25% of the pizza pie. And then basically from there, they have to send out those letters. So that's kind of how that works. Okay, Summer Clark. Well, in case she doesn't come in and I'm gone, please tell her. Okay, absolutely, Summer. I'll let Cheyenne know that you adore her and that you're missing her. She was on the beach recently, taking a quick little walk. Sometimes she likes to go and relax over there. Sometimes, when life is fun, we take a walk, and I think that's what she was doing. She was taking a good walk. How are you all doing tonight? Hope all is well. Howdy, Michael. Linda, this was done in July, the fee agreement. So if it was done in July, okay, so here's the thing. Appeals counsel, they kind of take their time with a lot of the stuff, and there's no definitive, you have to get stuff done by this time. Of course, the Social Security Commissioner will put pressure on them to push, but at the same time, there's no like get her done at appeals counsel. So what that means is that, yeah, if they were looking at that point, but keep in mind, July, August, September, October, there's some months in there. I mean, you should be getting the decision. I would reach back out to them and find out, was this sent to the local FO? Was any additional information needed? Stuff like that. Linda, that's what I would do. Okay. Silent Universal Dreamer. Yes, Cheyenne is a good kid. These two got something great. They will do big things together. I hope so. There you go. Yeah. We try, but it's so much work. It's so much more work nowadays to build a business and do all these things than it used to be. And it's a lot of work. All right, so let's see what the next thing. Linda, yeah, the ALJ was biased and kept talking about my severance pay and the fact I was paying for insurance. Well, okay, so severance pay from what company? How much did you get over what period of time? The ALJ was probably pissy because the alleged onset date was during the actual pay periods, and they were looking at, okay, is this countable income? So they were probably bringing that up to say, hey, change your alleged onset date. Michael Sandoval, I got to pick up the pizza. Be right back. Live the dream. Bring me a slice. Okay, so guys, here's the thing. We can talk about any topic you like. The two people that I was supposed to call and catch up with did not pick up. So I was downside job eliminated. Okay, gotcha. So if there's a particular topic you want, let me put it in here. Topic, I'll go ahead and cover it. Oh, you know what? Let me go over what this claimant wanted. Even though she didn't pick up the phone, let me go over what the claimant wanted. There are no videos on YouTube about pre-effectuation interviews. So do you guys know what a pre-effectuation interview is? I'm going to go ahead and put that out there. Do you guys know what it is? Okay, so a pre-effectuation interview. When you are found disabled for SSI or SSDI, they do an interview. Specifically, SSI is the more important one. And let me just do SSI because that's the more important one of the two. A pre-effectuation interview is the interview after you've been found disabled. So you go to your hearing, or you get a fully favorable letter or partially favorable letter or whatever. You get a favorable letter, and you go to you're at that point where now you're wondering what's next. So there she is. Hey. So what happens with the pre-effectuation interview is they'll send you a letter that says, we are going to call you for an interview on this day at this time, and your butt better be ready. And what that means is that basically they are calling you for SSI purposes to go ahead and see if you meet all the poverty requirements. And they're also looking to see what months they can reduce or what months are due the full amount of SSI. So let's say, SSI 2020 is $783 a month. Well, if somebody was helping you throughout those years in which you'd been waiting, right? So if there were some months where they were helping you, if there were some months where they were, essentially not helping you, those months in which people were assisting you, those months in which people were helping you out, they're going to reduce your benefits by 1/3. So essentially $783 for that back pay month is going to get reduced, boop, 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 down to $500 a month, 1/3 reduction rule. And so what that means is, and now they're also going to look at what your husband or your wife are having for income. If your husband or wife for SSI have a lot of income, right? They're getting a big, retirement check or a big SSDI check themselves. Then what that does is they then have to reduce your SSI even more. Some people get only $200 or $300 on SSI. So the ironic thing is that, yes, your hearing is very important, but just as important as that hearing is your pre-effectuation interview, which comes after you get a partially favorable or fully favorable hearing decision or decision at DDS at the initial filing level or the reconsideration level. So what does that mean? It means that the money part, how much you're going to get for back pay, how much you're going to get going forward for forward pay, is actually established by the local field office as part of the pre-effectuation interview. So this pre-effectuation interview is really important. And a lot of people don't know what it is. There's no videos online about it. So kind of the bottom line is I'm going to actually make a couple more videos about how pre-effectuation interviews actually work, what to watch out for, and what to know. All right, let's see. Melinda Robinson, hello. I don't know if you remember me, but I asked about having to go through a surgery to get / keep SSI. It's a major surgery, and it would be my third one, scoliosis, and replace rod again. Okay, cool. Is there a Melinda, what question do you have? Let's see. Okay, cool. All right, so what I'm going to do is let me tell you about the process once you're found disabled, because a lot of you guys don't know, or you have been found disabled and you do know, but for those who don't know, let's say you go to a hearing, right? You wait 3 to 4 months after the hearing, you get a letter. The letter comes in 3 flavors: unfavorable, partially favorable, and fully favorable. You want these two. The best one is the fully favorable, but partially favorable is still acceptable. So what that all means is that once you get that letter, you're going to start to receive letters from the local field office. The local field office is basically one of those situations where they go ahead and do what's called the pre-effectuation interview phone call. They'll also go ahead and start to outline your benefits that you're potentially due. You might be due on SSI Medicaid or SSDI Medicare, and they begin to do the process of figuring out how much per month you're going to get, and they begin the process of whether or not you have any financial restrictions or issues that pop up. So after you get that letter from the judge, it takes about 2 weeks to a month and a week to go ahead and start receiving payments. And a lot of people will actually start to receive their back pay payments before they go ahead and receive their forward pay payments. Their forward pay payments are when they're getting their regular check every month. Let's check back over here. Let's see what Melinda had to say. Do I have to have the surgery? No, the Social Security Administration never requires that you have a surgery. And the balancing test that really defines whether or not you should, or whether or not they should consider it, or whatever, is that what is the percent of likelihood that harm may result from that surgery. And the reasoning is that, look, if you've got a spinal issue, a back issue, a neuro issue, a neck issue, a whatever issue, one of those types, or you've got some sort of other, could be a spleen issue, a liver issue, whatever. If you have some sort of surgery that's going to potentially have serious harm for you due to it not going right? Let's say that you got a spinal cord, pinched spinal cord based issue, and you have to go ahead and have surgery, and that you might come out having literally no feeling in your legs and your hands and things like that, then obviously the person is usually likely more to accept the likelihood of having no surgery and the pain and problems and just treating it with medication. So no, you don't have to have the surgery, but you better have a good reason as to why you did not go with the surgery. So that's kind of the audio. Okay. All right. So the next thing that you need to know about is whatchamacallit. When it comes to okay, cool. All right. So when it comes to basically, we're getting some messages over here. When it comes to this system, a lot of people wonder what they should do once they go ahead and get found disabled. A lot of people I tell this to, most of them do not follow it. So I want you to understand, just rolling out, a lot of people I tell this to, many people do not follow it. Here's what you should be doing, okay? So the way this works is you should, when you receive your benefits, if it's you go into a hearing, you have a good amount of back pay, right? So we got a chunk of back pay. Let's say you got 15 grand worth of back pay coming to you, 20 grand worth of back pay coming to you, whatever. Let's say that you have a chunk of money of back pay coming to you. Could be more, could be 30 grand of back pay coming to you. They have specialized mortgage programs. They have specialized systems set up for you to go ahead and purchase into a house at a low price level. Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is because there's these options that exist. I'm just going to move this thing over here real quick. 1 second, Rube. What that means is that potentially you guys could not be in the rental game and could be in the ownership game. So I want to talk about that real quick. A lot of claimants want to go ahead and own a place, right? But they usually don't have enough money, so they run into the problem of not being able to go ahead and get a mortgage. Well, guess what? They have special mortgages just for disabled individuals. And when you get your back pay, the smartest thing you could put that money into is not your health, because you're going to get insurance usually with the programs. It is in fact into a home that you can own and pay off over time. Remember, these are not luxurious homes. We're talking about anything from $25,000 up to $100,000 with a mortgage that's set up for you. So these are not luxurious homes on the water. These are not luxurious homes on the mountain. But these are homes. These are places where if somebody wants to come onto your property, you can say, I am the owner. You can say, I have the right of it. Yes, you do have to, of course, pay the taxes on it, yada, yada, yada. But it's better to own a home and have that option than to go ahead and be a renter. Because as a renter, you don't really have many rights. You are renting the space that which you're staying in, but you are not actually having full physical right over that area in many situations. Just regular living and yes, but there's a lot of instances where you would not. So it's always better to own the home if you can. All right, let's go to the next thing. Why do I still get CDRs when I have failed back surgery syndrome and both pain pump and spinal cord stimulator? Spine is deteriorating, but it seems they expect me to miraculously be cured. Well, Raven Fox, how old are you? If you're still in your 30s or 40s or even young 50s, you're going to keep getting those. That's A. B. Also, when it comes to basically pain pumps and spinal cord stimulators, those things fail left and right. So they're usually looking to see, did she get better? Did she get worse? Did she find alternative treatment? There's another thing, too, which is that they keep coming out with new, better treatments, right? So, remember, we used to have diseases that we no longer have now, things that definitively, absolutely equate to disability. Well, that's not, there's a lot of things, take, for example, polio. There's a lot of diseases and bacterial and viral and fungal infections now that we have a cure for. So they're going to keep checking in. 46 years old with 2 autoimmune diseases. Yeah, they're still going to do it. And here's why. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, Raven, they basically were doing, check-in CDRs every 7 years. But now they're down to 1 to 3 years, and they just changed the rule to go ahead and include the 2-year option. So now you can have a CDR basically 1 year, every 1 year, every 2 years, or every 3 years. You can check in and call in and find in from the DDE document and say, or actually, you can check in with the local field office and say, your local field office is your hub office. That's the one you always communicate with stuff. Hey, do I have a CDR coming up? Is it going to be a short form or a long form? Stuff like that. For you guys that don't know, there's a short form, there's a long form. The short form is a quick, simple, easy thing. The long form is a whole drawn-out process with elements to go through. So basically, yes, at 46 years old, you're still considered a young person. In my opinion, the way things are going with the government and the way things are going with this, basically what you're looking at is at 46, you're looking at 6 more CDRs, potentially a swing between 4 to 8. That's what I would say. Okay. And that's because they're increasing CDRs left and right. And remember, guys, if they catch you, using drugs and stuff like that, or you go to jail, they're finding new ways to kick people off and keep them off because the disability program is completely bloated and overloaded. How about a mortgage for an RV truck? So here's the thing. You can go ahead and take your funds and get a mortgage for that, but I'm not sure they have a mortgage specifically for, essentially a chattel-based product that's an automobile as opposed to real property, which is like a physical piece of dirt. So, I mean, if you're talking about buying a piece of land and then getting an RV to throw on top of that, and you have a mortgage for the piece of land, yes. Now, look, at the same time, you get some money down, you get your back pay, you could pretty much go to any mortgage group, get a loan, and be actually fine to go ahead and push forward. Grace Gonzalez, sorry, don't worry about it. That's why I'm here. All right, let's see. Jimmy McClaskey should just call one night. You better find it together. Blah, blah, blah. What I just got is 5 to 7 years. I'm 58. All right, so here's the deal. Pretty much 58, 59 are the cutoff date for CDRs. What do I mean by that? So 58 and 59 are those age groups, you're right before 60, where they don't really care because they know that once you hit 60, the elements change for disability law. Once you hit 60 years old, element 5 disappears, and we're not worried about can you do other jobs in the national economy. Because the whole point of the CDR is to see if they can send you back to work. And if you're going to go to work, there's got to be a job out there that you can potentially go back to work for. So when you hit 60, they're not really interested in doing CDRs with you because element 5 disappears, which means that element 4 only exists, which is can you do your past work. They're not worried about can you do other types of work in the national economy, which is element 5. So basically at 58 years old, that's it. That's the last CDR you're going to have. You're probably not going to have a CDR after that. And here's the reason why too. If you have a CDR at 58, you hit 60, element 5 of the 5-step sequential process, it disappears. So then you're just left with 4-step elements. And what happens is at 62, if you're on SSI, they switch over to retirement. If you can, you have enough quarters of coverage. Or you go ahead and ride SSDI all the way to 65, 66, or 67, whatever your maximum retirement age is. And then at that point, basically, you swap over from SSDI benefits, disability insurance, over to retirement. Yeah, I'll probably call Cheyenne at some point through this. Is that through a regular bank or something special? All right, so here's the deal. You can get mortgages through all kinds of things. You can get loans through all kinds of things. So if you wanted to get, for example, a mortgage for a piece of property, they have a special program set up for disabled people. But if you wanted to get a mortgage or a loan, or what you want to get a loan for an RV truck, then that would be a different sort of situation. But yes, it is. They have specific programs set up just for disability mortgages. You can go ahead and Google those and go through the basics of it. Let's see. Is that through regular? Okay, gotcha. I just got approved for SSDI. Congratulations, SRT. Very good. Very good. Very good. Cool. Okay, so I want to go ahead and go through some of the basics here of what to expect going forward. So it takes a long time to edit these videos and post them and do that stuff. And I know you guys like the live stuff, so I'll keep doing that. So what that means is that I'll continue to push those and make those. But what I would like to see from you guys are particular topics that you would like me to cover, or particular questions that you have about the disability field ahead of time. Now, ironically, I had 2 individuals set up to go ahead and do the interviews today, but obviously they didn't pick up the phone, and then one of them texted me, hey, I'm at a place where I can't talk. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and continue to collect people to go ahead and call and do that whole thing for the show, and then we'll kind of see how things grow from there. Now, with that said, is there a particular topic that you guys would like me to cover? Okay, I see Daryl Alexander. Why is it so hard for veterans living overseas to receive SSD? That's a good question. Now, are we saying they're living overseas in a country that is covered by the international agreements under basically either Congress approved or President approved for quarters of coverage sharing? Or is this a gig where basically the VA, the person that's living abroad is not in a country that has quarters of coverage sharing? Is this a deal where they're currently active or they are a current veteran? Help me out with some of those details. More understanding about grid rules. Okay. Grid rules. Let's bring up the grids. Okay, 1 second. Okie doke. Okay, cool. Let me pull them up here. That way we can go through them. Okay, so what we're talking about are grid rules. Grid rules, the only ones you really need to worry about are sedentary and light. If you want to know more about sedentary, it's really easy. It's basically just a bunch of limitations as to what you can do. But the most important one is that 6 out of 8 hours, your butt's going to be in a chair. So think about that. You're sitting 6 out of an 8-hour base job. And for 2 of those 8 hours, you're expected to be able to stand and walk. Okay, so 2 hours, stand and walk. Now, you're given all of the regular breaks as a vocational sitting would allow. You are allowed up to 9% usually of time to be off task at work. You are allowed to go ahead and miss around 1 day per month. What the grid rules assess is they look at your age, your education, your previous work experience, and then that renders a decision. They're like a grid, right? Grids. Like a waffle, right? If you have this, disabled, this, not disabled, etc. So let's talk about the age groups. So the age groups that they look at are essentially somebody that's 60 years older and older, somebody that's 55 and to 59 and the day before 60, somebody that's 50 to 54 and a day before 55. So they look at these things at 5-year intervals. And let's see, can they require someone with the dialysis? Okay, I'll go to that one next. So what that means is that these grid rules look from basically, and they go down to 45 to 50, 55, or 50 to 55, 55 to 60, 60 to 65, etc. So they're all at these 5-year intervals. And what that means is that when you're basically 45 to 49 and the day before 50, it's extremely difficult to get gridded out. Now, the rule used to be, okay, when it comes to basically, being particularly young, you're in the younger age group category, et cetera, et cetera. It used to be that you were unable to communicate in English, right? That was one of the things, illiterate or unable to communicate in English. Well, they're changing that, right? Because there used to be a lot of Spanish individuals who were not capable of communicating in English, and they would automatically go into Social Security disability benefits. And so a lot of the Spanish attorneys out there were saying, this is unfair, yada, yada, yada. And then in the same breath, they would be arguing online that America should not have English as its national language. It should have Spanish. So there was this like hypocritical thing going on specifically with Spanish speaking, disability attorneys, because they were arguing in one breath, hey, America should be able to have, Spanish as a used language and required. If you go down to Miami or any one of those places, you'll see, for example, that everything, Home Depot, Lowe's, whatever, is in English and Spanish. Okay. But the bottom line is, it's not, across the board used as the national language. Obviously, English is. So the statute used to be for a younger individual, if you were illiterate or unable to communicate in English, you had all unskilled work and the capacity to only do unskilled or no work, then you would be found not disabled. But back in the day, illiterate, you actually could go forward and have that option of being found disabled. But they changed that rule. So now, pretty much for all younger individuals, you can't grid out. It's just not going to be there. It's just not. It's just not going to be. So we only look to grids when we're looking at 50 plus, right? So if you're 50 years old, we're looking at the potential of a grid option. If you're 55 plus, years old, then the grids start to get a lot better, and things start to get. And we use that even more as our analysis. Now, here's a caveat, a side tip, if you will. Some judges, and I have one coming up, will not approve anybody that is in the younger age group category. Because remember, we were talking about categories of griddings here. We're talking about age, education, previous work experience, and the ultimate decision that's rendered. Some judges, de facto, and I want to make this point very prominent, will not approve people who are in the younger age group category, even if they have extremely tough things going on, even if they're this or that or whatever, even if they're marked or severe or extreme or whatever, they just won't approve them. Is this unfair? Yeah, it's unfair. It's also bad adjudication. It's a bad judge technique. It's just bad. But that judge is safe with those decisions, because when they released the legislature, when they said here's the grids for SSRs and things like that, they said this is what we're looking for. We're looking for it to be significantly harder for somebody between 19 years old and basically 49 years old and a day before 50 to be found disabled. That's why most attorneys will not accept claims from claimants who are under 50 years old, because there's everything going against them, and the evidence needs to be just incredible. It needs to be really, really, really good for that person to be found disabled if they are under 50 years old and above 18 years old. All right, so that's one of the problems inherent with the grid systems right there. It told the judges what they were looking for and yada, 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 okay? Now let's talk about the next group up, right? So we're talking about younger individuals, right? These are your 19-year-olds to your 49-year-olds. Then we're going to closely approaching advanced age, right? We're starting to see some options at that point for disability, okay? Then we're talking about 19 to 45, 44 and a day before 45. My apologies, guys. A little bit tired. I've been working a lot. So here, let me type that in and fix that real quick. We're looking at basically younger individuals to 44 and a day before 45. Okay. All right. So, and then we start to go through these different categories, right? We've got younger individual, closely approaching advanced age, and then we get into basically, these higher levels of what we're looking. Now, I cannot forget this caveat real quick. Grids for medium work, that includes an additional category. That's closely approaching retirement age. Okay, so what is essentially closely approaching retirement age? That's basically your 60 years old crew. Okay. And the reason why we look at that is in the odd chance that we're looking at potential medium work for an individual and they're that old, this gives us our disabled or not disabled options. So if somebody's much older, right, and they're closely approaching that retirement age, then what we're looking at is, in order for them to do that, they have to be closely approaching retirement age, have marginal no education or limited or less education, have either unskilled or no prior skill or no skill, and that would render a disabled decision. Okay, so that's kind of what that means. All right, so sorry guys, I'm a little bit all over the place tonight, but I'm a little bit tired. Would you take a case where we're a claimant 36 years old? Yes, but the evidence would have to be very good, or the potential future evidence would have to be very, very good. So, Michael, what kind of impairments are we looking at? I'm going to start answering some questions because I got way off topic with the grids. Should you try for disability when you're 63, or just do Social Security in Feb of 2020? Broke late to be problems with swelling. All right, so you always, when applying for retirement, okay, should you try for disability when you're 63? So when you're retired, right, so you're 62 plus and you're collecting, or you collect at 63, 64, 65, whatever, you always want to have a filing in for SSDI benefits, because the moment you are found disabled for SSDI benefits, you can transfer from your current retirement over to SSDI benefits, and then you get to sit on SSDI benefits and act like you were not collecting early retirement. So you actually get to have more retirement because you get to ride SSDI benefits until you reach your maximum retirement age. And then they go ahead and switch over to retirement. So that's your ladder to basically achieve a larger amount of retirement each month, because they do not count it against you for taking retirement early if you switch over to SSDI benefits. So that's how that works. So Cheyenne just lost her internet, so I'm just giving you guys a heads up. She might be texting via phone. She might be on her way back to her computer, things like that. Okay, so let me just kind of pop up. And sorry, I was a little bit all over the place with that whole gridding thing. Okay, Daryl. So we were starting to work on Daryl's. I do not see any more from Daryl. Cool. Let's go to the next one. Can they require someone with a diagnosis of schizophrenia to take medication? Just lost my internet. Sorry. Okay, yeah, she's feeding her dogs and stuff. So guys, she'll rejoin us shortly. Can they require someone with a diagnosis of schizophrenia to take medication? My son has been on SSDI and SSI since 2005. They cannot require him to take medication, but they might put him through a CDR, and basically they might say that he's not trying medical options to go ahead and get him to the point where he could go back to work. So what you've got to watch out for is they might say that he's improved, or they might go ahead and reach out to the doctors and get a statement from them saying, hey, why hasn't he actually done these things to go ahead and improve? The other thing you got to watch out for is they might send that kid to a CDR. When they send that kid to the CDR, that CDR doctor, the medical expert, might have had a medical consultant through the DDS representative go ahead and basically make a bunch of notes and say to the medical expert, hey, medical expert, I want you to go ahead and recommend what you feel would happen with this kid if he were to go on a medication. And if he, and yada, yada. So then basically you're looking at a report that says, from a specialist, high level, postdoctorate level individual that says, hey, this kid basically has the capacity to potentially improve through these methods. And then the Social Security Administration might reach out and say, okay, well, we'd like to see if there's further treatment. We'd like to see if, things can be improved. They can't force you to take medication, but they can put pressure on you. And if it's obvious that basically he's not taking medication, and that would be the direct cure of the situation, then they'll probably try to find a way to say he's not following doctor's orders and things like that. So let's say that the doctor gets pressured from the SSA, from the SSA reaching out and saying, we'd like notes and evidence on this. And then they come out with a medical CE doctor that says, hey, this would improve the child if they took medication, yada, yada. Then what you're looking at is all they need to get from that doctor is the doctor to say, the child is not currently taking medication. We feel that the child would improve with medication. and for this reason, the child has chosen not to take medication, then they can use that as a means to say that the child is not following their own doctor's, orders and things like that. And that they can go ahead and deny, because that falls into the same regiment of, hey, the kid is abusing the medication he receives, the kid is selling the medication that he receives, the kid is making cocktails with the medication he receives, or the kid is refusing to take the medication that he has been prescribed. So in that case, you'd have to get another doctor that would go ahead and present the idea that the child does not need to be on medication. But remember, then you're competing against the doctor that he was originally with, and you're competing against the medical expert that the SSA sent the child to. So basically, they have ways of forcing the kid to go ahead and try out medication or lose the benefits. It just would not be directly of, you had this option, you didn't go this option, yada, yada, yada. And remember, you got to make arguments as to why the kid's not taking schizophrenia-based medication. It might be that he has some sort of other, he has some sort of symptoms that relate to it, some sort of side effects, and that's fine. But if you don't have that, if there's no background of that, if he's not complaining of that, and you haven't tried them before, then you're going to have a real tough time getting around that. Let's see. And I see a second summer on the joint lives or things like that. Yeah, so guys, she's right now busy feeding her dogs. And she's back. There you go. Should you try for disability when you're 63 or wherever that? Michael, would you take a case? No, wherever that. Type 1 diabetic on a insulin pump. All right, so Michael, the thing we're looking at with a situation related to diabetes is that when it comes to essentially, somebody on diabetes, you have to ask, okay, first and foremost, how are you doing? Are you currently working? Are you in school? Are you expected to graduate school soon? If you're working, are you likely to be getting a promotion? Are you training other people, doing payroll, scheduling things? Are you opening and closing the shop wherever you are? All these things. So my big thing to you is, what are you doing right now? Are you doing nothing? Let's see, nope, you're not doing anything. Okay, so basically, in that case, I'd have to know why you're, incapable of doing the jobs that are there. So walk me through. Why are you unable to do the jobs you once did? And why are you unable to do future jobs that are very simple? Simple jobs like putting shoelaces into shoes, blanching almonds, being a price checker, putting prices on items that are being sold in the store. Why would you be unable to do those basic jobs? Okay. Grace Gonzalez. I am 27. I suffer from gender dysphoria, PTSD, depression, anxiety. Judge probably deny me because of my age. Well, when did you get a denial? And also, what did your ALJ hearing brief state? What did they write in it? What did they go through? And you guys have to remember too, there are attorneys that specifically go ahead and take claims to appeals counsel. I cherry pick claims that I take to appeals counsel, and then I have another firm that I work with that basically takes other ones. And basically what happens is attorneys intercommunicate with attorneys that they like and trust. And then if I don't have time to take something to appeals counsel, they'll work on it and they'll get a percentage. And then basically it shoots back to me for the ALJ hearing and stuff like that. Or I'll take the claim directly to appeals counsel myself and go with that particular system. But yeah, basically, Grace, I would need to know a lot more details. Like, what was the judge thinking? Why did they deny you? What jobs did they offer? What medical evidence did you have? Things like that. How did it show that you were unable to do the work you once did and the jobs out there that you could potentially do? Okay, let's see. Teresa Ramirez, have not started SS. Was wondering if I should get an attorney to try for SSDI. Planned on working till 66, 6 months, but lost job because of accident. So yeah, the bottom line is if you're not working and you're in your 60s, you want to go ahead and apply for SSDI benefits no matter what. The moment you get on the SSDI benefits, you can pop over to those and ride those until you reach your full retirement, and it won't count against you essentially for being on that program. It won't take away from you getting your full retirement benefits. So like if you take retirement early, it takes away from you as you get older. If you take retirement later, it doesn't take any, you're getting more of that monthly check for your retirement. Well, if you go ahead and take retirement right now, and then you get, SSDI benefits right after that, you switch to SSDI benefits and it doesn't count against you. like taking retirement early. So you want to go ahead and stay on SSDI benefits until you reach full retirement, and then you'll switch back over. Okay, let's see. What else? All right, so guys, here's the thing. I'm going to go ahead, and if nobody wants to call in, which is totally fine, I'm going to go ahead and do a shorter version. And the reason why is I'm so knee-deep in work right now with so many claims and things that I have to do around the house and such. But the bottom line is if nobody wants to call in, I'm going to put the phone number up there one more time. And then I'm going to give you guys a little update on what's going on. Okay, cool. So when it comes to me, Attorney Walter Knott, I have not been going to all the regular offices that I traditionally go to. I've been going to essentially just one office as a tester thing on Mondays. And that's been going pretty well, but there's also been problems because there's been a large outbreak of COVID in the area, and a lot of the particular population that I'm dealing with is getting infected with it. So it's one of these weird things. Like I keep thinking I can go back to all the regular offices and be fine and do all these hearings and not get sick. And then all of a sudden, poof, a bunch of people get sick that I was interacting with. And I think, oh my God, did I Lysol that thing? Did I take care of that thing? Yada, yada, yada. So then there's that worry about it. So I have to kind of figure out, okay, what's the next step? So I think in the near future, I will. I have dates set for, and COVID came along, we got a letter saying, no longer have posted. I thought that was better way for person, postpone. Okay, so I just got a text message from one of you guys. My attorney thought it was better to wait in person. Okay. To live. Okay, so basically, what's going to happen is I was supposed to go back to offices in September, and then that didn't happen. And now I was supposed to go to offices in October, and now I'm not going back to all the offices in October. I think I'm going to add one more office in October and then another office in November. And then I think what I'm probably going to do is just buy another office in Brevard and just keep that as like a, I don't know, a whatever situation. I'm not sure how I'm going to roll out me going back to offices. And here's the weird thing too. For 3 years after I started the firm, it was actually a couple of years went by, and then for 3 years after that, I created what's called the 10-level system. Let me find the form over here. I can show you what it looks like. Okay, here's the G4 appeal packet. So what I created was the 10-level system. It looks weird to a lot of people who don't know what it is, but the bottom line is these are the government forms: the G1 adult packet, G2 child filing packet, G3 appeal packet, G4 hearing packet, and then you have different levels: level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And this 10-level system is what I use with the law firm to go ahead and basically guide people through the system. I created the 10-level system because, to me, it simplified something that was stupidly, ridiculously complex. It's just like if you had to, and so there was a problem. And I'm going to walk you through what happened with the firm. I employed people, and they could never figure out what form had to go where, who needed what at what stage, and yada, yada, yada. It took them a solid 6 months to get it down, to be fair. And, you know, I know some people are like, oh, I got it down. I know exactly what I'm doing. No, you probably have no idea what you're doing. You probably don't know all the things you're missing, and that's why you don't really have it down. So that's why basically I created this, the 10-level system. And the whole point of this is to basically have a structured system that people can understand, to go ahead and understand the basics of how this whole thing works. So I want to go through, you know, some basic things with this, just so you guys have an understand how this works. When you guys go ahead and begin the process for disability benefits, there's these levels, okay? You have essentially the filing level. That's where you file your forms, go through the initial adjudication with DDS. Then you have the reconsideration level. You get a denial, you go to recon. Denied, go to reconsideration. You get a denial, you go to the ALJ hearing level. You get a denial from there, you have the potential, if you have grounds, to go to the AAJ level or the appeals council level. If you get a denial from there, you go to the federal court level, and that's built in a district, circuit, and Supreme Court level. Most attorneys that do disability law are not certified to do this. I'm one of those. Oh, no, I'm one of those who can do it. I'm not one of those who's not certified. I can actually go and do it. Now, below this is actually the, right here, the top 5 elements of the 5-step sequential process. These are the elements that make up disability law. It's really that simple. I mean, sure, there's a lot of complication and words and tricky stuff, but here are the elements right here that make up basically Social Security disability law. SGA, are you earning over SGA per month or close to it? Has your impairment lasted 12 months? Do you meet, equal, or exceed a listing, a predefined list of disabilities that you're as bad as, just the same as, or worse than? Can you do the past relevant work you've done since 2005, called PRW? Can you do relevant, transferable, skilled work? Other types of jobs that borrow the skills or have no skills and can go ahead and do other types of jobs in the national economy. That's the whole thing. It's complex. It's paragraphs upon paragraphs of law. You know, when they created it, it was just this giant thing, right? But that's it. That's what it gets boiled down to. That's it. That's the whole program. That's the whole thing. That's right here. Elements of disability, the entire Social Security disability docket. That's the whole thing right there. That's it. The whole thing boils down to this. I know it. I know it's, you know, one of those, but okay. Anyways, all right. Now, with that said, I broke this system down into basically 10 levels. You have the contracts and the representation forms. That's level 1. That's where I learn about you. You have the medical functional part. That's where I find out where you went for medical. Oh, wait, sorry. Up here in level 1, you also have the potential loan agreement to get you around the SSI issue of the 1/3 reduction rule. That's where you sign a loan agreement with somebody. It has nothing to do with the firm. It just helps you with your back pay. Then over here, medical functional. That's your level 2. That talks about where you've been for medical, what you've done when it comes to, you know, receiving medications, timelines, stuff like that. Okay, that's basically where I learn about your medical devices, your medications, your medical treatment, stuff like that. Expedited analysis. Every single level 3 person, meaning every single claimant of mine, gets a expedited brief, right? Because we're trying to speed up every single claim. That's the whole point here. So what that means is that basically level 3, we go ahead and we look at all the options and all the things that we can go ahead and expedite your claim. This section also contains all the HIPAAs, directive letters, and patient-directed letters. I know they're different, but that's what it's evolved into in this shameful HIPAA environment that's going on right now due to high tech. Level 4, I want to know about your penal background. That's your prisons, your jails. I want to know about your jobs, where you worked, what type of jobs you had. I want to know about what kind of schools you went to. Did you have special education, stuff like that? Then we have level 5. Level 5 is testimony representation. This is basically where we do some testimony shaping. You know how you guys are used to, like, for example, the top 50 ALJ trick questions? Well, that's what this is about. This teaches you even more information than those. Those are just the cutesy trick questions, but this is more about that. Okay? All right, now over here, we go to level 6, disability listings. This is where I figure out what listings you fit into and what potential ones I can go ahead and utilize throughout the program. Level 7, disability limitations. This is basically a giant list of all the potential things you could do at work and all the potential things you could do at home. And the whole thing is you explaining why you could not do those things. It's testimony shaping. It's part of a program to get you to understand what you could do, what you could not do, and what's the gray room in between. What's the wiggle room to be able to know how to actually do things. Okay, that's a big testimony. Then we have benefit maximizing. Goes through some of the things to make sure you get the maximum amount of benefits you could potentially get. Then we have testimony preparation. This is what this is like the final thing. This is what preps you for the upcoming hearing. This is, you know, like you guys always see those top 50 ALJ trick questions. That's kind of like the cutesy thing. Well, this goes into the more hardcore stuff. This goes into your fears, your wonders, what I need to worry about, where you're going to potentially freeze, all that stuff. That's where I learn the inner core stuff on you. And then we have the post-hearing answers. After hearing, that's basically the answers. Everybody asks, you know, the top 5 questions. They always ask those. So that has it in that sheet, those things that which they're likely to ask. It's actually more than just the top 5, but it's those questions you're almost certain to want to go ahead and ask. Those are the questions that basically it goes into. All right. We are now at 59 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and open the floor to everyone, but I'm waking up to each morning, so I shouldn't complain. I'm back. Hey, kid, blah, blah, blah. Happy day, friends. All right, guys. So basically, at this point, I had somebody text in. I'm going to try calling the vet one more time and see if we can get that gentleman on the phone. Let's see if we can get this person. 1 second. And then what will happen is we'll call it an early night. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to treat Walter very nice. I'm going to go to a fancy place and get myself a Wendy's burger. That's the plan. So If you miss me or you love me or whatever, that's okay. We'll catch up next week. But let's see if we can get this person on the phone. If not, totally fine. And then also, I want to give one last thing, a quick speech about spaceconstitution.com. I just want you guys to hear me out on that one, okay? Let's see if we can get this gent on the line. Let's see real quick. Speakerphone. Here we go.
Your call has been forwarded.
Okay, cool. All right, so I'm going to give you one final thing before I pop off here. And here's the thing. Spaceconstitution.com. The website is for the most part built. Now we are into the section where people need to start testing different aspects of it with their phones, their computers, their tablets, their PCs, their widgets. I don't care. You want to try and access it from your iPhone or your iWatch or your iWhatever? Let's do it. And here's why. Okay. So here's what this really means. Okay. I need you guys to go to spaceconstitution.com, try logging in, see if it works on different phones, and shoot me a text through the business line. Here's the business line. Because right now, okay, this is basically what it comes down to. Wait a minute, hold on. That's not the yada yada. So what this comes down to is basically this website is going to define the future rights of the human race in space. Okay, and what I need you to understand about that is that a lot of people. Oops, sorry, I put in the wrong. Yep, thanks. It's the 407. Yeah, 279-1754. I need you guys to understand this. In the future, and this is huge. This is massive. In the future, there's going to be countries in space, sovereign nations. To spaceconstitution.com. Check it out and start using it and send me where you see any bugs. I see that there's an issue with the internet is spinning. Oh, goodness. Either way, guys, I will catch you a little bit later. We'll have a wonderful, wonderful night. You have a wonderful night, and we'll go from there. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.